Hey guys, this is Katie Weaver, the Domestic Mystic, and I'm going to show you how to turn a terrarium into an ancestor altar. It is shortly after the fall equinox, and a lot of times this time of year we start talking a lot about putting together an ancestor altar. Historically, a lot of my clients start feeling their family members very deeply this year. Any medium will tell you that this time of year they feel the other side a lot stronger. There's just something about the magic of this time of year. So I've been seeing these super cool terrariums over on Pinterest. And of course they've got rocks and moss and crystals and plants, and they're just cool as hell. And I was thinking about making one for myself, and I realized that what I wanted to do was turn one into an ancestor altar. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to show you how I'm doing it and maybe put some thoughts in your heads. So first I have this lantern, this glass lantern. I picked it up at a local craft store. That's what it looks like. You wouldn't have to use something just like this, but for my purposes this was perfect. So I like that it vents in the top so that my plant isn't going to cause a bunch of condensation inside. I didn't want that, but I thought this was going to be pretty cool, so I guess we'll see if it's going to be pretty cool. And then I've got some river rock that I picked up for some substrate in the bottom to give it a little bit of a base. It seems to need it. It's actually kind of rattly. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but it's rattling like crazy, driving me crazy. So it'll be good to get the rocks in it. A plant. I picked up a little succulent to put inside. I chose this one because it's got these cute little fronds coming off of it, and I'm thinking that they will vine down just a little bit, and over time that'll be pretty cute. So succulents are great to put in stuff like this because they don't require a whole lot of light and they don't require a whole lot of water. So they can live in a project like this. Okay, of course I picked up a little bit of moss to put in the bottom of it, a little bit of substrate there. And then of course the pieces that I want to put inside. I did grab a spool of lights. These are just the little LEDs that are, you can pretty much pick these up anywhere these days, but I love these. I love lights. Pretty much everything I make has to have some kind of lighting attached because I love lights, and there's a lot of magic in that for me. So anyway, you can use lights or not use lights. That's entirely your choice. But for me, gotta have them. All right, so some of the things that I'm putting in mine. So my ancestor altar, I'm putting a jade angel in it just because it should represent my angels, right? I am putting in a piece of labradorite. Did you hear that? Yeah, that was one of our mini pigs going to get in bed and lay down on a chihuahua who didn't appreciate it. Welcome to my world. A piece of labradorite, this little labradorite tower. I love this piece. This really represents me in the grid or in the terrarium, standing amongst my ancestors. I chose a piece of petrified wood to represent my dad. This feels like him to me. He had a deep connection to the earth and to the outdoors, for one. But for another, I feel like this is it's him. It's dark, it's polished, it's supportive, it's ancient. It's just him to me. I chose this moonstone pendant. It's a tree of life. It was my mom's. This was actually a gift that my husband had made for my mom at one point, and she wore it. She loved it. This was a prized piece of hers, and so I felt like this would be a perfect way to represent her within my terrarium here. So a tree of life for mom. I chose this one to represent my grandmothers, the rose quartz. They were both, well, not both, many. I had lots of grandmas at one point. I now have none. But they were all women that were full of a lot of love, full of a lot of heart, and so I figured that rose quartz would be perfect to represent them. Alrighty. And then I picked up this piece to represent my baby brother. I thought that it's fluorite, and initially when I grabbed it, I wasn't sure why I thought that fluorite would represent him. He actually died when he was 4 months old. But this piece is so clear. It's so beautiful to me. And I feel like maybe that's why. This just felt like his spirit to me. So fluid, so beautiful, so pure. And then again, fluorite is a stone that's known to clear others and be, you know, pretty pure of heart. So maybe that's why. I did pick up a piece of amber because amber is a really great stone to connect with your ancestors. Not necessarily those who, you know, died in your lifetime, but a deeper sense of ancestors. And so I thought a piece of amber probably belonged here. And then lastly, this is a piece of organite that I built. It's actually a piece of organite that I built that got broken when it fell out of the mold. So I thought it would be really good for this one because it's full of carnelian. And the carnelian in it to me really represents that sacral bond. I mean, the carnelian is a sacral stone. The sacral chakra is, of course, for women where your womb is. This is your place of deepest and most sacred creativity. And of course, connecting to all of the women in my line, well, it's perfect for me. So it's going in here. I don't think that the ancestor grid will care, or the ancestor dome here we're building is going to care that this one, you know, got dropped on the floor and broken. Who cares, right? So this is a good use for it. Okay, so in putting everything together, the idea that I had for it was that we'd start by putting some rock in the bottom. Wasn't really sure how much I would want, but I think enough to lay a pretty good base. And you would certainly not have to use river rock. River rock is, I think it's one of the most underrated stones, right? I know some people think that clear quartz is the most underrated stone. But what about river rock? River rocks, these could have been boulders once upon a time. River rocks have stood the test of time. They've been polished, they've been challenged, and yet here they are. And I think they have a pretty amazing energy to them, so. And it does kind of make me wish that I had, you know, taken a trip to the river and gotten my own damn rocks. But I didn't. I didn't have time for that today, so here we go. Okay. So I'm pretty comfortable with that as a base. I don't think I want to get any deeper than that. I wasn't trying to make this insanely heavy. I think I'm going to put my lights in next. These are going to be wild. I don't know about the lights. They might suck. It's a very long strand, but I'm going to give it a shot because I wanted them. So I'm going to go ahead and just put them in and let them be kind of random. I don't even care if they don't all get covered. I think that I don't really care if they're showing a little bit. This doesn't bother me, but so I'm going to spread them out a little bit. You might choose a strand of lights that aren't quite so long. This is really pretty long. This is a lot of lights for this little project, and of course you wouldn't have to use lights if you don't want to, but it made sense to me at the time. Okay. All right. So I'm going to just put some moss down over the lights. This moss is so cool, by the way. You buy it at the craft store. I'm sure all of your craft stores have some like this. And it is real moss. It smells amazing. I thought this was kind of cool. It's got this little barky stuff in it and kind of interesting. All right. So I'm going to lay it down in here a little bit. So I guess maybe yeah, we definitely don't want. Maybe that's okay. All right. So good. All right. So the lights are definitely going to shine up through the moss. I think the moss did a little better job of laying those lights down than I thought it might. Maybe I'm going to tack a little bit more in here. All right. And I might readjust that a little as we go too, but there we go. Okay, so the succulent. And the succulent for me, my great grandma had a disc from a tractor that was full of hen and chicks. And when she died, my grandma inherited those. And when she died, my mom inherited those. And when my mom died, I inherited those. And it's always been a really special thing to me, the hen and chicks, you know? Every year, and of course that's what my family calls succulents like this. I know they have various names, but I had seen some that had a succulent like this in them, and it really spoke to me because this is my grandma's. This is my heritage right here. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in. I had felt like maybe she would kind of go in the corner, and we'd put the stones and things around her so that she had plenty of room. I really want to see if these little guys are going to vine out a little bit for us. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so now we just have to put our stuff in. So obviously we want our angel overlooking the whole endeavor, right? And I think I'm going to put me, remember the Labradorite tower was me, I'm going to put her right next to the angel. Let's see if they'll both stand up for me. All right, so then there's really no obvious order to do this in, right? But maybe I'm going to decide I'm getting this way too full, but I kind of like it. I like that every time I look at this, I'm going to know why I put specific things in here and what they represent to me. I think with the necklace, I'm going to try and run the cord out a little bit to the back. It doesn't really need to be showing all that much. I might rearrange this later again too, but here we go. Okay, so, and I had bought some just some little balls, some little grapevine balls. I thought that they were kind of a nice little representation of the eternal flow of things or eternity, and to me, I really believe that. I believe that we are sentient beings that go on and on and on. And so I like these as a representation of the nature of our spirits and the nature of our relationships. And so that's why I wanted to add them to this. Am I just messing everything up? I think I did. Okay. Okay. I'm just going to peek these in here a teeny bit. I think they're kind of cute. Okay, perfect. Okay, so there it is. Let me see if I can shut the door now. Yeah. Okay, so here it is. Trying to give you guys a good peek. So that is, and I may rearrange this 100 times probably, right? And likely I'll take crystals out and put different crystals in for various reasons. But for this purpose, for this season, an ancestor terrarium, an opportunity that I have to keep celebrating my loved ones, my past loved ones over and over again every time I see this. So it's going to be the centerpiece on my table, my kitchen table here for at least the next month or two. And then maybe we'll pull some of the crystals out and start over again with a different purpose. But for now, this is where it's at for me. So I would be interested to know what crystals you would put in yours. And if you need any help deciding what crystals you would want to use to represent various family members, I'd be happy to help you with that. So as always, if these videos are fun for you, if they're helpful for you, go ahead and subscribe and I'll continue making them. So thanks so much. This has been Katie Weaver, the Domestic Mystic. You guys have a great night.